You're listening to Bedroom Beethovens, where notable music makers break down stories accompanied by songs and melodies documenting growth through their 10,000 hour journey. And me? Well, my name is Cello, your host.
I am a bedroom Beethoven.
We back on our hip hop. What up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 96 of the podcast. My guest this week is...
Well, my name is Nolan. Some people may know me as Nolan The Ninja. I am from Detroit. I rhyme, I produce, I creative direct. I do a few things.
On my Bismarck shit. 1, 2.
I've worked with Royce the 5'9", I've worked with Apollo Brown, I've worked with Homeboy Sandman, I've worked with Blue from the West Coast, I've worked with, a lot of people.
Bitch, I feel like Witherspoon. That's Pops, nigga. Real nigga entry, I am requesting room. Give me room. Shuffle playlist go from a mean A to woo, A to Z. Wearing something Stussy that I copped a few ago. Always been 100, I ain't never played no roles. Swear this game is funny and fickle, this Rick Moreau.
With new projects on the way, Nolan is ready to bring something different to the table. Known for a ferocious cadence, grimy beats, and a deep respect for all things 90s, Nolan isn't getting rid of that part of his identity, he's only adding to it. The next chapter will feature cleaner, more precise sounding beats that are stripped down to the foundation of hip-hop production. We chat about starting his own imprint weeks after the start of a pandemic. While a lot of businesses were closing down, he was starting one. He's out on his own, he's putting his best foot forward, and we lay all the cards on the table as he explains the aesthetics, sound, thoughts, and ideas surrounding his latest projects and what lies ahead. Look, guys, as I inch closer to the 100th episode, I appreciate everyone who's along for the ride. It's been a while since Detroit has crept up on the show, but it definitely won't be the last. Hit up bedroombeethovens.com. It's the website that represents the podcast itself, and there you can grab a shirt to rep the show. You can donate to the Patreon. You can subscribe to the YouTube, or just poke around if you're bored in the house all day. Because, well, you shouldn't be leaving the house anyway. But until I can nab a PlayStation 5, I'll just keep being busy creating this show. I guess it's a good thing. I refreshed Walmart's website for no reason the other day. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, but no weeks off. Another week, another episode. That's the formula. I appreciate you being here. Let's get into it. Yeah, if I'm focusing around your area, like 26 years ago, Cask Cafe opened its doors, and now Cask Cafe cooks, bartenders, dishwashers, servers, they're out of work indefinitely. And there's a GoFundMe, and it's only at half its goal, so it might close down.
Yeah, man, that's unfortunate. There's been a couple spots in Detroit that's closed. Like, for example, like one of my favorite record shops, and after I've got wind about it closing, I heard that it's possibly just a new location. But Hello Records, like, that's not even at the spot it is anymore, and that's where I first started digging, and when I first started wanting to produce and everything. So, to see that close, and I even just passed it, and like the awning is off, and it's just different. I'm like, wow, so seeing COVID, not only make people sick and like some of them die, but just seeing these businesses who have been so rich in the community, just disappear off of something that was so unprecedented, and it's unfortunate. But like I said, I'm hoping that it's a relocation rather than a complete closing.
People's Records gone.
They're officially gone?
I think they're closed.
Yeah, that's wild. I haven't been to, me personally, I haven't been to People's. It's been a little minute. I'm gonna say at least a solid year. Yeah, man, it's unfortunate, man. Like, because well, I don't want to say little, but businesses like those who, that are very like vital to me as an artist, to see those go is kind of like, man, like it kind of sucks because, for one, People's and Hello, those are the closest record stores to where like the area I've been living in for the past few years, and to see it go is just it's just kind of it's a little sad. But again, I'm hoping that this is just a temporary closing and that they can have a new location, because that at least like relieves some of the sadness. Like, oh, okay, y'all moving somewhere else, that's fine. Minor setback, major comeback type perspective. But if they're really gone, that's going to suck because like it's like, man, like where am I going to get some records?
Well, paint me a picture of like Schoolcraft Avenue. Like what was it like growing up in your grandmother's home back in the day?
Very, very like very humble, coming from a working family. Everybody just kind of like have jobs and things. I'm kind of the first like creative to really branch out and kind of like go on different. But at the same time, it's what you I guess it's what you make out of that environment. Like I never really became like a product per se. I've always aspired to like go past my neighborhood and everything. Like even putting myself in a school like high school that was 20 to 30 minutes outside of where I live, just put myself in different environments so that I didn't feel so trapped and I could have an outlet to, tackle, I guess, my imagery, in a creative regard, I guess.
How did you have the foresight at that age to know that you didn't want to be a product of your environment?
Well, just honestly, like coming from like I guess my family, like is you kind of see the do's and don'ts, like whether it's like my uncle doing a long jail sentence or another family member may be addicted or whatever the case may be, you just kind of saw that firsthand, like yo, don't go down that, go down that road, and I don't know, man. Like for me, it was just it's kind of like black and white. It's like yo, what's right and what's wrong. Like don't do that, It's just like that's just how I was thinking. But like I said, man, I was always just like real creative and just like thinking about other stuff. Like I didn't even have time to like indulge in that like type of like energy. Really, I had mad homies that was into the environmental activity, I guess you could say. But I was chilling, man. I was like, all right, I'm going to school and what I'm saying? Like, let me just see what I really want to do. Like, cause it's like, dude, like obviously I'm not trying to go to jail nor, you know, or do any of that stuff or hurt people or harm people. Like, it's like, bro, I'm just trying to get mine. Like, and I don't want to have to corrupt what's already, a difficult time for residents just because I feel entitled. I don't know. But I wasn't really thinking about that. I was into like movies and like I was playing basketball. Like wasn't worried about none of that. Like I was trying to get a bag. Honestly,
And so, like I said, you were staying at your grandmother's. Alberta was your grandmother, right?
yes. How do you know that?
Oh, well, Fatina was your mom, right?
Yeah, but how do you know that though?
This year, you opened your own LLC,
The
Sportscast
internet.
LLC, and when you
I
do
mean,
that, you're no longer a businessman; you're a business man. So
yes.
it kind of lists like, oh, okay, well his place of business is in Wayne County,
Right.
and so you can do a little bit of digging.
And that's good. And that's good. That's really dope. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
She had dual master's degrees. She was a very accomplished woman.
Yo, you deep. You're deep, but yes, yeah, man, yeah. She educates, and I feel like that's kind of what like one thing I can honestly say like I grabbed was more so like study habits and things like that. That kind of carried on into like the music, just that hunger for like learning and applying and doing it all over again, over and over again until you feel confident or comfortable with an approach or
How was the dynamic though? Because like when you left Oakland University, your mom can flex those dual master's degrees on you, and you're releasing rap music, and she might not see the full vision that you have. She might not know that you're as serious as you want to be with the music.
I think in the beginning it was kind of a surprise because just growing up, I was very like, I don't want to even say like shy because if you knew me, I was cool, but just more so like, just kind of reclusive, and just kind of like in my own world. So a lot of the time, people didn't really know what to expect or how to approach or what I'm even thinking about. But yeah, once I left OU, I mean, I just was like, okay, well, now I have more time to invest in rap or whatever, or music period, like, because it was always bigger than raps. It was just more so like, okay, this is a path that could occupy my time.
Well, what if OU was like, Nolan, come teach a class on art direction and music?
And I
And
want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. And seeing people like Ninth Wonder or Mia X, and seeing them like teach courses at college about hip hop, like that's inspiring. So sure, if I was offered that, that would be very dope. I mean, that's something that's more along the lines of stuff I see myself doing in the next 10.
so you accept the job. What would be the golden rule? Because I look at the Talk Soon album cover and it's minimalistic, but I notice, well, why is there an orange triangle in the top left corner? Why are you mimicking being a cardboard cutout versus a clean photo? Why is there yellow, blue, and purple for the font colors? None of these are accidents. Those were conscious choices.
Yeah. Okay. I'm liking these questions. So the orange tab. So when I approached Talk Soon, it was the coming out of like the Nolan brand, like Nolan, all caps, and I was kind of like, and it's still like under Nolan the Ninja, but it's just more so, it's just me more mature, more developed, more aware of my artistic approach and everything. Just honest, just like listening for like, constructive criticism, or seeing a lot what people thought and everything. And, now I'm at a point where I don't listen to any of that and I just kind of follow what I want to do. I would rather create things that people don't understand like right now, but I overstand. And if they have questions just like you, like they could just ask me about it and they can get the direct answer. So Talk Soon cover, whenever I'm doing a project, well, for one, like I have this like theme for the Nolan brand. Like, everything is going to have like a very cohesive look, but it's going to be different stuff on the canvas, quote unquote. So Talk Soon, I'm like, yo, I just want to start fresh, and what's a fresher color than white? I started thinking about some of my favorite like hip hop covers, especially from the like golden era, like 80s. Too Short, Born to Mac is a key reference and why I even put the tab in the corner. If you look up his cover, before they were doing like parental advisory labels, which everybody just slaps on their covers now, that wasn't really a thing. That wasn't even a thing yet. So, in order to identify exactly what the language sounds like on the album, the artist usually types out like contains explicit language, or they do it somehow to let you know that it's not for children. Instead of just doing like a PA label like every release, which everybody just does, to kind of, I guess, officialize their project. It's like, yo, you can create your own stamp of like, vulgarity or explicit content or whatever. And so that's one thing that I want to do. That's one of the components for having the cohesive projects with the Nolan brand, is just to have a tab. Whenever there's a tab, that means that don't play it around kids. And as far as the cutouts, again, like we're starting fresh here, so we're just talking about going back to the basics and not just like golden era like hip hop covers, just thinking of life in general, like when you first started learning as a human being, we take it back to kindergarten or preschool, and you're cutting and you're gluing and you're taping, and you know what I mean? There's not essays and stuff yet. You know what I mean? It's just kind of free creation and imagination, and that's why I did that for Talk Soon. I feel like it gave it a really dope look. And again, to reference like album covers from back in the day, like Grand Poobah's Real to Real, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that, stuff that I genuinely was already listening to, since I was at OU or high school. Now I'm taking elements from those albums that I enjoy, like sincerely enjoy, and not just like trying to replicate anything, but sincerely enjoy, and flipping it and making it my own and introducing it to a new wave of kids who probably aren't even aware of the albums or the artists.
Did you know that albums whose songs are spelled in all caps sell 30% lower than song titles that have normal capitalization?
I had no clue about that. That's an interesting stat.
And you shouldn't, because I made that shit up. But that's the type of stuff that you could teach in your
Oh,
class.
right,
I'm
right,
sure. I'm sure there's
absolutely.
data to dispute or support stuff like that. If I go to your track list, it was a conscious decision to have everything in all caps.
Yes.
So I'm a graphic designer, so I love paying attention. I'm a vinyl collector. I love seeing cover art and analyzing
Yeah.
it. So I think it's important to know that kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I was born. I was born in '92. Didn't even start to realize what the world was about until I was in middle school. So we're talking 2000s. Didn't even start adulthood or college until 2010, which is the beginning of a whole new decade. 2020. It's like, okay, the past 10 years, I have officially just been moving and aspiring to be an artist or whatever the case. And now I'm just at a point where I'm ready to fully like tap into who I am and not do stuff to appeal to people or you know what I mean or what managers may tell me I should do or whatever the case. Just do me because that way if it totally does nothing is on me. But if it totally rises, you know what I mean, like it's also on me and I don't have to do this plant gimmick or whatever, like you know what I mean, like I'm just very like I'm just chill, I'm just me. And I feel like the sauce the sauce like I'm already like messing with and been messing with for years. I feel like that's what's helped me, like I don't even want to say stay relevant because I mean nobody still knows don't know who I am really, but it's just just helped me just kind of maintain a brand over the years because it's like I haven't really like I just put out Talk Soon, but it's like prior to that, like before Sporty and Colors, like I wasn't really like putting out too much stuff. Like I put out a couple LPs back to back and that was that. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, yo, I know exactly how I want to do this. Yo, I know how we gonna do the artwork, how we gonna lay this out. I know what video I'm trying to do. I know exactly, you know. So like everything is just it's just in order now. Like it's like I got my ducks in a row. Whereas these past 10 years, it's just been me learning about the game and just understanding how to go about stuff. And I've grown a lot in that aspect too, just growing and maturing and understanding how to deal with people and talk to people and because I was a wild boy, man. You know what I'm saying? Like 4 or 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I kind of really started making a name for myself or whatever. But now I'm just more focused than ever. And I'm excited moving forward. Because even if it doesn't do anything, like I know that I tried. You know what I mean? I tried my utmost best of my knowledge to to try to do this.
How scary was it to start this new journey because you filed that LLC right after COVID?
The idea even just came into play in 2018. I just knew at that point, I was getting older, and I'm like, yo, I don't want to be seen as like a person that strictly is just like people only want to talk about rap stuff with. And Spork was initially just kind of a springboard for me to branch out and do other stuff. Initially, it was a group I was in, but I was also like managing and like you know what I mean, mentoring. It started off as a trio, me, my little bro Niza, who still records me to this day, and it was our homegirl. And we had just kind of like a Fuji City High type vibe going on, and then I added a few more people. I added like I think one or two more girls. I added a I call him the White D'Angelo. Shout out my former roommate. But he plays all the instruments. He's dope. I feel like it would be cool to have him in the collective, and and I just grabbed the other couple of people like I've met over the years who I felt like are really talented, but they just haven't had those opportunities or gotten with the right people. And shortly after I started that, I ended up getting an offer from Mello Music Group, and then I said, oh, okay, well, sorry guys, I have to, you know what I'm saying, be a rapper for another year or so. And so that kind of came to a close. But after Sporty came out and really after Colors came out, Colors was kind of also like a reset just for me to get I guess my business straight.
Oh, I like that. Turn me up in the headphones a little bit. Need to hear that.
Like since that time, like everything's been like I got a lawyer and all of this extra stuff. Whereas before it was kind of just me.
Hey, yo, don't pay me your homage, pay me in dollars. Got advice from Uncle Rock to focus on my pockets. Niggas is petty, watch them. I can tell by the posture if niggas honest, so they pocket watching. Vigilant scoping, I can spot it. I'm aiming my opiate shit, my eyes are open. Only thing shut is my mouth around the show for Phil. I ain't trusting many, could count on my fingers. It's funny how some information to linger. Blowing potent, watching wedding singers. With the sound off, playing Charlie Wilson as I smoke a pound off. Wait.
You know, when COVID hit, you know, everybody's at home. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's quarantined. So it's like you literally cannot go anywhere. So you have to deal with stuff, you know, head on. Like if you wanted to do something, you know, and I always was telling myself like, yo, I'm gonna officialize Sporkcast. I'm gonna make it into a company. And I was saying that, you know, when I was trying to make the group, you know, but you know, I got signed to Mello, and then I had to do some more stuff as a solo artist. I couldn't really put people on like I wanted to, and over time, people kind of got tired of waiting, so they started doing their own thing. And
That's why a lot of businesses are closing down. You're starting one, so I respect that. And I didn't know that about the coalition. You know, after the Almighty Dreadnoughts, but before the Clear Soul Forces, there was the Creative Minds Coalition. So that's dope.
yeah. And those my peoples, man. And I still talk to them to this day. Like I just saw one of them literally yesterday at the homie's crib. But you know, like I said, man, one thing about me, like I know like nobody like knows me, but I have a rich history, especially like in Detroit for a certain community because I've done so much, you know, from being featured in the museum to working with some of the city's top artists to getting cosigns from some of the city's top artists and or just being around hell, you know, ending up I'm from the west side, you know, but a lot of my music homies from the east side and you know what I'm saying? So it's like I end up on the east side or I end up in Southwest, you know. So it's you know, it's a lot of history, man. But as I said before, I feel like I've been making music for a while and everything, but things didn't really start for me. I say until the colors thing popped. I feel like that was kind of when people started to look at me differently and kind of take me more serious instead of you know, oh, he's a ninja or he raps like he's angry. You know, just like little shit that people always would say to like try and downplay my talent. And which is one thing I never understood. But
Can you confidently say that if you weren't on Mello Music Group, you still would have been on Sincerely Detroit? Your value in the community placed you on there more so than, oh, he's a label mate.
yeah, absolutely. Because again, I just from me just moving around in Detroit, you know, I met Apollo Brown when I was maybe 22. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I remember when I first met him, you know, I was like, yo, I'm a fan, man. Like I've been following your stuff at that point for a few years or whatever. So yeah, I feel like I definitely would have been on there because Apollo like he already told me he kept telling me like yo we gonna work he was telling me that like 2-3 years before Sincerely Detroit even dropped.
Why is it so hard to work with producers where you started making beats yourself out of necessity to avoid the hassle?
You know, a lot of people definitely fronted on me. You know, I had a different style. Like I mean, hell, I still do, but it was you know you can even imagine like how complex it was back then. So you know, a lot of people fronted, but at the end of the day, you know, I already had it in my head like I wanted to touch the boards, you know, so it wasn't like it wasn't that like oh if nobody can make a beat for me I'm doomed, you know. So that's how I even got into making beats. Like it was just like I was just like yo I know music past just writing rhymes, you know what I mean? So it's like I want to incorporate that in you know what I release. So that's what I did. I got a copy of Fruity Loops from my homie Woods, Fruity Loops 9 to be specific, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah, I mean, you could have spun off in many different directions at that time. I mean, who's to say you couldn't have joined the Bruiser Brigade with Zalopers, and next thing you know, you produced Atrocity Exhibition, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, could have worked out.
Yeah, and the Bruisers are also like, you know, guys who has known me for years since I was a teenager, you know, like you know, and I still see them from time to time. You know what I mean? I remember recently, like recent months, I was over there and Danny just bought everybody tacos. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody just eating tacos, and I'm like, all right, this is dope. People like that, like you know, who are I guess you could consider like hometown heroes. It's at a point where I've seen those guys and chopped it up with those guys on several occasions. So you know, for me, it's like it's kind of normal at this point. I mean, like 2011 when I first started getting hip to Danny with Triple X. He was doing like dope events. Like I remember he did like a vitamin water event like downtown. It was some like free RSVP type event. And that's kind of when I first was like introduced to like bruisers and what was going on. And and everybody's cool, man. I've linked up with bruisers in New York, and you know what I mean. So it's like it's not just Detroit either. Like I remember my homie Trip. He pulled up on me in New York at a session. So it's all love there, man. I've traveled with a couple of those guys. It's all love and respect.
Well, 5 years ago in the Metro Time, they included you in a top 10
Hmm.
list with yourself and Boldy James. And when you see someone like Boldy James commercially rising, you see him sign the Nas's record label, you
Hmm.
see him releasing albums with The Alchemist, you see him inking deals with Griselda. I mean, you're only human, Nolan. Do you ever go like, man, I wish I should have been more political last year, or maybe I should have been less introverted, or maybe I should have been less fill in the blank, or does it not really
Well,
bother you?
no, no, it doesn't really bother me because again, like I can't get in touch with any of those guys you just named. And I feel like that's a privilege in itself. When I came into this thing, I understood that I was a student. I didn't come into it like, yo, I'm the best and nobody can mess with me and all of this. Because I knew that I'm like, yo, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to be considered. There's a lot to, there's just a lot going on. And you just have to, be aware. You have to learn, apply, and keep doing it until I guess you get your break. But I don't want to say, like political or like kissing ass or anything like that. Because I mean, at the end of the day, like, I was an MC. So it's, I just wanted to prove myself at the end of the day.
Yeah. Greatness is
But,
simply a synonym.
right. And that's what I said on the Quakers
Yes,
album that
sir.
drops
Yes,
tomorrow.
sir. I tie it all
Yes.
together.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. And that's even dope. Like, cause I remember seeing Quakers video with Guilty like years ago, like when it first premiered on the Stone's Throw channel. And, this was like their second LP in damn near 10 years, and I landed on that. And, seeing stuff like that, it's like, oh man, I would love to do a record with Stone's Throw. You know what I'm saying? But you also don't want to rush that. But if you end up on a Stone Store release, is that equally satisfying, or you know what I'm saying? So it's like it's really dope, man. But shout out to Quakers. I'm definitely gonna check it out when it drops.
I think we covered a lot of ground, man. If you want to talk about the new project Talk Soon, nobody can better describe the actual music better than you. So you have the floor, sir, to tell people about it and why they need to scoop it up. Oh, and before you get started, I listened to it numerous times. I'm from the South. I love instrumentals like that. Excuse my being naive.
Mhm.
I'm going to describe them as simple beats, but
Yeah,
they're probably not simple.
yeah, no,
But it's very
yeah,
stripped,
very
and
strict.
I mean, I love the album. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, everything prior to Talk Soon was very sample heavy, like literally everything. And with Talk Soon, I felt like with this reset, like let's just strip away all the extra samples and all the extra textures and just kind of literally build from scratch. And that's why you hear like I focused on the 1 2, like the kick, you know what I'm saying, the kick drum and the loud snares with the wet reverb. Like I was focused more so on sonics and I wanted you to really hear them. And I wanted, because again, these are things like I've learned over the past few years. This isn't something like I was just like, yo, like it was just like, yo, I just I want to experiment with space this go around. You know what I mean? And I really wanted to bump. A friend of mine, he calls it. He's like, man, you be making Jeep music. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yeah, but it has that knock though. Like every track is features like a dope 808 boom to kind of give it that extra bass. And I haven't played it through any like subs in the car or anything, but anytime I play it in the studio, you're able to I could take it to the max and it doesn't distort or it doesn't sound, and that's one thing that I paid attention to in mixing and mastering, like just being more aware of the space for music. Cause I mean, even in my like rowdy rap days, like I was still like studying stuff like Tribe Called Quest and like Pete Rock and like De La and Mos Def, like and the Bush Babies. I was like literally like listening to this stuff like because I thought it was fresh, and I thought that the approach to the music was dope. Another thing that was a heavy influence for the making of it was analog. I'm real big on. I mean, I'm already big on like nostalgia or nostalgic attachment. This tape, I wanted it to run as if it was maybe mixed on a Neve board from like '96 or something. That, and just have that bottom, not be so focused on having stuff loud, but just having stuff really warm and really knocking. And I felt like the best way to complement that was with lyrics that touch on subject matters that you may not necessarily hear every day, like the first half of High. That started off as a jingle that I was going to pitch to a company. Long story short, I never got in touch with the company, but I felt like it needed to be put out. So that's why I put it before the High track. And obviously, there's a lot of stuff that's like, it's hip hop, man. So it could be a little misogynistic at times, but you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, like, we all have moms and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, bro, like you're not treating every woman like that. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of
Of
like the
course.
groupie joints or whatever. So that's why I wanted to do that, or even on like the interlude before Conundrum, like the first, like that was all live. Like it may sound like a sample or whatever, but it's all live stuff that I started in LA with my friend Ron, who helped. He played like some keys, and you know what I'm saying. So it was just more. I just felt more liberated creating Talk Soon because like it wasn't the norm of what I was doing. It wasn't no samples. It wasn't a bunch of stuff already kind of carrying the track. It was kind of like the beat meets the artist, and the artist meets the beat. And I brought in a couple friends to help accentuate a few things, whether it's adding keys or adding bass or having, Niza, my little bro, like I said, he records me. He did CC, and that's one of my personal favorites on the album. And I can't wait. I cannot wait until we shoot the video for that. But, you know, it's just a really dope album. And to go back to the Too Short, reference, like Born to Mac, you listen to albums like that or even from that era and everything is very stripped. And I understand that this is the 80s, so a lot of technology wasn't really advanced too much yet. The most at that point was probably like an MPC 60 or maybe a SP 12, the first one. So I approached it with that type of with kind of like that angle. Like it's kind of like me and like a 4-track mixer and me just kind of trying to make a demo. So that's part of the reason why it sounds stripped like that. And inside you hear my own influences. Like a lot of people have made comparisons to Chuck English just released. Now Chuck is, that's one of my peoples, like one of my big homies. Like anytime I'm in LA, like I hit him up, get advice, get sounds or whatever. But Chuck was also a person that I admired, like growing up in high school, like hearing the music with the cool kids he was doing. And one album I really studied, like while mixing the album, was Diggable Planets, their second album, which I feel like it's a great mix for like how they were presenting the sound. Like if you listen to it, I'm sure you have, or at least what I mean. But just for the people, like if people listen to it, they can really hear like how the beat sometimes overrides the lyrics or the audio or the vocal tape because the bass is so loud or because the bass is so like compressed. You know what I'm saying? But it's still like booming. It's a lot of stuff I took in consideration, like making this album, like making it my own personally. Like it's like right now, like people want, they just kind of want loud, obnoxious stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really like make that. My stuff is very like, well, at least I want my stuff to come across as like warm, but it knocks. You know what I'm saying? And it's not overwhelming. And you could take it to the max and it won't blow out your speaker. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, man. Talk Soon is definitely That's my baby, man. And I can't wait to look back on it like a few years from now and just see, because even the work that went in BTS was, definitely a ride. Because again, like this was put out on my dime, on my imprint. So it's like all the funds like literally came from me. And man, I feel for these, I feel for the independent musicians, man. I really do. I mean, it's definitely tough. It's tough. It's tough whether you're doing it out of your pocket. It's tough whether you have an investor. It's tough whether you got a sponsor. It's tough regardless.
Yeah, I'm doing my part with the podcast to add just a little bit of value to as many people as I can.
Oh no, no doubt, no doubt. And this is also dope. This is also a dope contribution, because you're putting people on. And here's my thing. It's like respect to all creatives doing things. My thing is, it's like, man, just make it crispy. You know what I mean? Like that's always been my thing because, I feel like there's definitely people that have like dope ideas and stuff and they want to do it, but they don't have the sauce to really execute it, nor anyone around them with the sauce to like, what I'm saying? Like when I went to your site, like, and I saw how it was laid out and the interface and I'm like, man, this is sweet. This is dope. Like, what I'm saying? Orange is also my favorite color. So like, I was already like sold off that, but I was like, yo, this is really dope. I was like, this is really dope. And sometimes that's all it really takes for me to kind of just like go in and just be like, yeah, I'll do this interview or I'll do this. Like if you, even if like, as long as it looks professional, that's a start. You know what I'm saying? Like, but a lot of people don't really grab that concept. They just think that you just start something and it's supposed to just take off, or they don't have no regards to presentation, no regards to approach, no regards to execution, no regards to who they going to interview or have on the site or feature. You know what I'm saying? It's just, they just be trying to do stuff. And, I've never really had the room for that. So everything for me is always have to be like concentrated or calculated. And, I like to take my sweet little time, man. I'm a tourist, so I'm
I'm a
very
Taurus as
like,
well.
word. So obviously, so you can relate to just being like, you just like to take your time on stuff, but not take your time because you're lazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you could be like hardworking, but you can also be like, I guess, lethargic, a little lethargic in the process. But you'll deliver though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You'll for surely deliver. So that's kind of my stance on that matter.
Do you think because we're both Tauruses, that's why it took 34 emails for us to finally do this?
No, man. Listen. You know what it is? So it's like I said, I've been in LA. So I just got back home like almost the week before last. And the Wi-Fi was just acting iffy. Now I have a Fire Stick. Now my Fire Stick is on point. Like it's on point. It's not skipping, it's not buffering, it's not doing any of that. But my internet, like the internet on my computer is like hella slow. And I'm like, what's going on? So that's the only reason for the delay. Because I'm like, yo, like the Wi-Fi is up, my Fire Stick is working, and the Fire Stick has been working, like it hasn't stopped at all, but my computer was just running hella slow, like taking 30 seconds to load a page. Like what?
Well, Talk Soon's out now. If you're a vinyl head, I think Fat Beats is distributing it. So support the man, support the new
Yes.
LLC.
Yes, shout out, and also shout out to Fat V's, because I remember also like I remember pitching the project to them, because although we have history and I have sales history with them, I still gotta pitch it to them. I can't just be like, hey, I want to put this out. You know what I mean? So shout out to Jab, what I'm saying, for believing in the project and to even carry it. Cassettes ship out like right before Christmas, and vinyl ships out right after New Year. So if anybody's interested in grabbing it, I will suggest doing pre-orders now. They're very limited. But yeah, man, talk soon. Talk soon is out right now. Sportcast, and 2020 till infinity. We're gonna keep doing this. I got more on the way. I have more in store. I have more on my hard drive. So we're gonna see where it goes.
Nolan, man, thank you so much. It has been literally the highlight of my week connecting with you. And, there's always a place for you on this
No
podcast.
doubt, man. Appreciate you having me.